Good evening and welcome to your most authoritative evening political show, Hot News. We are coming to you from our studios in Abilingpe 48, Swanika Street here in Accra. We're live on Facebook at Pan African Television. We're also live on YouTube at Pan African Television. You can send in your views, comments, contributions, suggestions, and whatnot on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our WhatsApp text line displayed on the screen. We will also make a time and read all those out for you. Tonight on Hot News, we are looking at an upcoming program, and I'll read the introduction to you briefly and introduce my guest. In conjunction with the leadership of the various sects, the Muslim caucus in Parliament is organizing a national Muslim conference under the auspices of His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Dr. Usman Nuhu Shaibutu. The conference takes place from July 30 to August 1, 2021 at the National Mosque in Kanda, Accra. The conference seeks to serve as a platform for deliberation on relevant thematic areas critical to the well-being of the Muslim community and to the nation building. However, the maiden edition of the annual event concentrates on education. And so we are looking at an upcoming National Muslim Conference, and this is going to be, taking off on July 30 to August 1. And I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Abubakar Mazuk Azindo, lecturer and personal assistant to the National Chief Imam. He will help us discuss, this upcoming event properly and what it seeks to achieve. Doc, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, sir.
You are mostly here in the mornings. Tonight you are here, and we are so grateful for your time. What is this whole conference about?
Yes, good morning, good evening to the church viewers as well. Now, because I'm always there in the morning, I always said good morning. Good evening to the church viewers as well, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. I think the introduction hints the basis of the conference, but then for the purpose of explanation, I want us to understand that Islam is a religion and state.
Okay.
When it finds itself in a country where it is the only religion, it provides political and spiritual leadership. An example is Saudi Arabia. That if it is found in a country of multi-party democracy or a country of secular culture that accepts religious pluralism, then it must respect the secular republican status, but leverage its own values in service to nation, in service to its own community. And therefore, it is within this context that the Muslim caucus in Parliament, in conjunction with the leaders of the various Islamic sects, under the blessing of His Eminence, the National Chief Imam, has decided to establish a conference that will be meant for the deliberation of critical issues in relation to nation building and the enhancement of the well-being of the Muslim community.
What are the critical issues in the Muslim communities that this conference seeks to address?
Fantastic. Yes. Before I answer this question, let me make it emphatic that this conference has two phases. One, as an establishment, as an organization that will have board of trustees, governing council, management board, any other relevant committee or relevant body in relation to an existing institution. And then the second phase of it is that it will be an event. And the event aspect will be annual. Therefore, this one is the maiden edition.
Right.
The thematic areas outlined for the conference as an establishment are 3.
Okay.
1, education. 2, health. And 3, finance. We have outlined these thematic areas because we believe that education is the soul of society. Health, the body of society.
Right.
And then we need a kind of oxygen that will keep the soul and the body together. Definitely you agree with me that without financial fortunes, the body and the soul may not be able to exist.
Right.
So these are the thematic areas we have outlined as our areas of focus.
Okay.
But as you have rightly said in your introduction, this particular maiden event concentrates on education. We have made it so because Islam itself articulates the centrality of knowledge. And Islam begins, when I say begins, I'm using habitual action.
Right.
Begins with knowledge, and we are hopeful that it will end with knowledge. The first conversation between Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his Lord was about education. Iqra, read. And then the verb used there does not have any specific object. In other words, the verb has an open object. This is to say that the reading in that context is not limited to religious knowledge. It is about any kind of knowledge designed to serve the interests of humanity and our Lord. And therefore, secular knowledge, religious knowledge, whatever knowledge, once it is designed to serve humanity, to serve Allah, to serve community, then it is part of Islam.
Right. I mean, I want to understand the kind of education you are talking about. We have different forms of education.
Yes.
Which kind of education is this conference going to focus on?
Secularly. I have told you
right.
that we find ourselves in a secular democratic society, that is Ghana.
Okay.
But of course you agree with me that we Muslims constitute a critical segment of the Ghanaian population. And Ghana, as a secular nation, has its own form of education. Everybody knows. The form of education here is secular.
Okay.
Purely secular. But we are saying that Islam does not at all oppose secular knowledge. Because any kind of knowledge, whether in the secular form or in the religious form or whatever form, is accepted in Islam once it is meant to serve society. So the knowledge, the education we are talking about is the same education that already exists in our system. Primary education, secondary education, and tertiary education. We have decided to do so because definitely the various sects, Ahl Sunnah, Tijaniya, Ahmadiyya, right, and Shia, have their own versions of educational schemes. We have decided to bring all these schemes together under one banner, and that is the conference. So the conference will be able to arrange and manage the resources, even Parliament. I mean, Muslim representation in Parliament, known as Muslim caucus in Parliament, has its own scheme of educational funding. That is Zakat fund. So you can see that as individual institutions, they have their own versions. But this time round, we want to rise to another level of leadership in responsibility and unity in diversity. Right. And that is why the conference seeks to bring all these resources together to ensure that the Muslim student is well funded, and to ensure that in the end, the education given to the Muslim student must be beneficial to the entire nation.
This brings me to my next question.
Yes.
That why education? You've said that this is to make sure that the kind of education given to the Muslim child is of quality.
Yes.
Are you saying that in current dispensation, children living within the Muslim communities are not having, better education. The education is not well funded.
Well, I don't understand. Maybe we may not be able to contextualize the well funded. But of course, no matter how it is, we are not satisfied.
Right.
We are not satisfied because you and I know. I mean, the Muslim community, unfortunately, and this is a bitter reality, falls within the category of the underprivileged.
Well, why do you think it is so?
Of course it is so, because when you look at the educational...
it is a fact, but that's what it is. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what makes it so? Why do you think the situation has been like that?
The situation has been like that because we've not been able to come together. We've not been able to put resources together. We've not been able... We've operated for a very long time as individual, at the level of individualism. This time, we want to come to operate at the level of collectivism. And we are saying that, you see, it is not the fault of anybody. And that is a reality in governance. At all times,
right,
every nation will witness a kind of development imbalances. Development imbalances within the socio-cultural setup of the country. So, unfortunately, we, the Muslims, have found ourselves in the category that demands enhancement. And that is why we are saying education is so critical to the Muslim community to the extent that no matter how we achieve it, we still need more. Because we have been advised by Prophet Muhammad to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. So to us, knowledge is central, is cardinal to our well-being. And it is true. Take, for example, the Christian schools, Christian managed schools,
right,
Christian owned schools, and then the Muslim owned schools. Definitely, because they have been in the sector for a very long time. They have model schools. It is a bitter reality, and I think they are not doing it. I don't want to believe that they are doing it to promote Christianity alone. I think they are doing it to promote Christianity and patriotism. Because at the end of the day, if you are not even a Christian and you attend our school, you become an asset of the state. So we want a situation where Muslims can also have model schools. We are not saying that we don't have enough. No, we are not saying that we are not educated, but we are saying that no matter how it is, we need to make it better, and of course, to position ourselves to make it the best.
Right, now let's look at, apart from the issue of education, yes, what other issues, are there that are confronting, the Muslim community?
Well, there are so many issues, but then on the track, for example, we've just mentioned the three thematic areas.
Right.
I mean, education, health, and finance.
Exactly.
Right. Health is another. But for this maiden conference,
right,
we are concentrating on education.
Why is the maiden conference, concentrating on education? Not health, not finances, or any other thing?
Yeah, because Islam itself began with education.
Okay.
And I think I have mentioned it.
Made it clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Islam itself began with education. And Islam has made education central, in fact, continuous. Because the first communication is read. Read. That is Quran chapter 96, verse 1.
Right.
Then the verse 1 says, read in the name of your Lord. So reading here, the verb read here, stands for education. In the name of your Lord stands for morality, right? And then it continues. In the name of your Lord, who created? So there is creation there, right? So if you come to from verse 1 to verse 5, if you come to verse 5, then it says the Lord who taught man, that is a human being, what the man or the human being never knew. So clearly, Islam makes knowledge very important and education very important. And it is clear that if you read, you will lead. If you refuse to read, you will be a follower. And of course, we have seen the importance of knowledge in modern society.
Right.
At the time the verse was revealed, there was nothing like computer. So we see knowledge as a growing activity, a continuous activity. And at all times, we shouldn't be satisfied. Our academic ambitions should be high. That's why we have decided to make it the first thematic area that we have to discuss. If you come to the conference, maybe when it begins, you will see various topics.
Okay.
We are going to have a lot of presentations, academic presentations by scholars, various topics, and all the topics attempt to address peculiar issues of education.
We do want to delve into some of the topics
yes.
you'll be treating.
Of course.
And
there are topics on pedagogy, there are topics on techniques of teaching, instruction, there are topics on educational funding, there are topics on the educational design, curriculum design, there are topics on the protection of the rights of the Muslim community, Muslim students, on legality, on democratic right, in relation to education. All these topics are relevant to the needs of the Muslim student and of course to the well-being of the Ghanaian youth. And we are saying that without education there's nothing you can do. So you need to even have the education so that you can talk about health. Consider the number of Ahmadi schools that we have. We have a lot of Ahmadi schools.
Right.
We have a university owned by the Sunnis. Even today, one of the Sunni-based universities had a graduation ceremony, right? That is the Medina Institute of Technology.
Right.
Yes. These are all secular institutions. The Shiite have a university, Islamic university, right? Tijaniyas have, in fact, a model secondary school in Kumasi, and they are planning to establish a university, right? So these are all sectarian controlled institutions of learning. This time round, we are telling the whole world that we want to put our sense of unity on overdrive, bring all of them together, manage them under a central point so that at the end of the day, we can pursue quality education, no matter the level of education of ours. At present, we need to make it better and of course to make it the best.
Doc, some of these issues that are going to be discussed, I mean, under education, isn't it an issue of, policy, and of which we need to demand from policymakers, rather than, looking at it from the perspective of the community and how the community will come together and, drive that agenda?
Yes. Yes, everything about education is a matter of public policy.
Right.
Everything about education is a matter of public policy. But remember, the best public policy is influenced by public opinion. The best public policy is influenced by enlightenment. The best public policy is influenced by the will of the people. If you have any public policy that does not respect the will of the people, public opinion, knowledge, that of course that public policy itself fails. Let me give you a classic example.
Right.
It is a matter of public policy to have a uniformed way of curriculum for primary education. It is a matter of public policy. No one can do it. That is why the GES is there. That's why GES operates under a ministry. That is Ministry of Education. However, any public policy on primary education that is the sole responsibility of the government must also be approved by the people. So it is the people who should be able to understand the public policy very well,
right,
and influence it. And of course in governance, particularly in democratic governance, it is a norm to influence public policy. But if you yourself do not understand the dynamics of education, how do you influence public policy on education? For instance, if you do not know the four traditional benchmarks of education, how do you influence that public policy? The four are: 1, objective;
right;
2, content; 3, methodology; and 4, assessment. You need to know all these things so that when government is initiating any public policy on curriculum design, on content, on pedagogy, that is in teaching methodology, and on assessment, that is examination, you should be able to understand and to know that your child will be a beneficiary. But if you don't understand that, and you allow government to initiate any policy at all on education just because the government has the exclusive responsibility, definitely at the end of the day, you are going to be the loser. So public policy, yes, is for government, but government must ensure that whatever public policy it initiates must be in line with the aspiration of the people.
Viewers, you are still watching Hot News right here on Pan-African Television with me, Justice Appiah. We're coming to you from our studios in Abelinkwe 48, Swanika Street here in Accra. Keep your messages coming in on our WhatsApp text line. I'll make a time and read all those so for you. You can as well leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our social media pages. We also read all those up for you. Please, if you're watching us on Facebook, kindly share the Facebook Live for other people to also get an opportunity to watch tonight's edition of the program. The topic we are discussing is one that is very, very important and one that will go a long way to help the Muslim community. But I'll come to you once again, Doc, on the issue of unity.
Yes.
You talked about the fact that the various sects, of the Muslim community must come together in order to champion this agenda.
Yes.
For that reason, this conference and all of that.
Sure.
What moves have you made in making sure that you bring all these sects under one umbrella for the purposes of some of these things that the Muslim community would want to achieve?
If I would have made a lot of efforts, a lot of efforts.
Right.
But then, let it be emphatic that whatever we do in the name of Islam is on the track of secularism.
Right.
And that is why the Muslim caucus in Parliament, one of the critical organs of governance, is championing this cause. We want Ghanaians to understand that we are not introducing anything new. We respect the secular culture. Our form of education that we want to pursue is purely secular, but we try as much as possible to have a kind of control, a kind of ownership from the Islamic perspective. What we have done as part of the efforts to unify the people,
right,
is to consult all the sectarian leaders, the Imam of Ahl Sunnah, the Imam of Tijani, the leader of Tijaniya, the Imam of Shia community, all these, and then the missionary in charge of the Ahmadiyya mission, the Amir, all of them, and they are all part of the planning committee. Then all these people are under His Eminence the National Chief Imam. So we've been able to assemble all of them before His Eminence the National Chief Imam. His Eminence the National Chief Imam has accepted the idea. All of them have accepted the idea. And together, we are working. We have done a lot, and we have been able to convince everybody that in the end, we are not going to talk about value judgment of sectarian issues, but value addition of Islamic unity. We have made a lot. The good news is that all the leaders have agreed to contribute to the success of this novelty in the supreme interest of the Islamic community and the nation.
Once we are talking about education, let me strike this comparison, between those schools captured under the Christian community, where you have some of these schools that are taken over by government.
Yes.
Is that same with regards to the Islamic schools too?
No, I don't think there's any Islamic school that has been taken over by government, to the best of my knowledge. I don't think so.
Because you know that we have a lot of Islamic schools that have been taken over government. I mean, that government has taken over, and of course those schools are known as government schools.
Government schools, yes.
Why is the situation different when it comes to that of the Islamic schools?
We have not been able to, maybe it's a matter of engagement with the government, it's a matter of policy by the church.
So you mean
that government
but I know of Appiah Senior High School. It's an Islamic school, isn't it?
Yes.
And is it not in the hands of the government?
Well, that's what I am saying. That is a different aspect.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's a different...
Because if you're saying that some of the sects are having, you know, their own schools, but you want to bring all these schools under one umbrella so that it could be managed, so that you look at how best these schools can give, you know, proper and quality education to, you know, our brothers and sisters from the Muslim community and all that. That's the reason why you asked this. Yeah, I asked an earlier question of, you know, an issue of policy.
Yeah.
And the fact that some of the things that are going to be discussed at the conference are matters of, you know, policy and must be directed at the policy makers and all that, which is why I asked that question.
Yes, that question is very relevant. And then that's not our focus.
Okay.
Our focus is not whether the schools will be under government or not.
Right.
Our focus is to ensure the quality. Our focus is to ensure the value of quality in those schools. It doesn't matter whether government adopts them or not. I think that will be a different level.
A different conversation altogether.
Yes, it will be a different conversation altogether. But then let me also add that apart from all these sects, in addition to all these sects, His Eminence the National Chief Imam also has his own education trust, Sunset, Sheikh Usman Nur Sharif Education Trust. And when you look at the way the various institutions and sects are operating, you will commend them. Of course, you will commend them. But then they will be more commended if they decide to come together to operate under the principle of unity in diversity.
All right, okay. Viewers, I'll open the phone lines and then, if possible, receive some calls and submissions from the general public and all of that. But let us look at how this conference seeks to, you know, probably help. Or, you know, I think that I have a question in mind I wanted to ask. How does the conference contribute to the development of the youth and the nation, especially the youth in the Muslim community?
Of course, a lot. The conference will first of all try as much as possible to enhance the quality of education among the youth. And we know that the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. If they are the leaders of tomorrow, then they must be equipped in strategical position to respond to the challenges of contemporary society and to assume the mantle of leadership tomorrow. So definitely, if the conference is meant to ensure quality of education among the youth, definitely, then the youth will also be beneficiary, and in the end, the country will benefit.
Right.
So the country will have direct benefit from the youth.
And wait a minute. Let's open the phone lines for other people who would want to join the conversation to call. Please, kindly open the phone line. Open the phone line for viewers to call. You can go ahead.
Yeah. Then in terms of unity among the Muslim youth, I think the unity at the level of leadership is not enough. What should consolidate that unity is coming together by the youth. The youth themselves must demonstrate that they are ready to unite.
Right.
So such a conference will be a platform to unite the youth. 2, such a conference will be a platform to promote the education among the youth. It's a bitter reality. You go to some of our communities, and then you see very brilliant people who do not have any form of academic ambition.
Very well.
Perhaps they do not know and do not have anybody to counsel them, right? But then if this conference will take into consideration educational counseling, go to the Zembo communities, try as much as possible to get the youth to the classroom or any other or any form of vocational training, instead of allowing the youth to train themselves in the internet cafe as champions of cyber crimes. So that will even contribute to a kind of discipline among the youth. It has a lot of advantages. Discipline, educational development, job opportunities, quality education, and national integration.
All right, let me read a few of our messages. I'll come back. This one says, I'm Francis Brinya. Good evening to you, Justice, and to your panel. Oh God, glory and honor are yours forever. Amen. Happy birthday to my wife and Linda Pearl Davis, who works at Ankafu Psychiatric Hospital. Who can find a I don't think that your message is about relevant to this what we are talking about. Do you have a caller? Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, my name is Abubakar Suleiman.
Abubakar, your submission. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi, my great father.
My name is Abubakar Suleiman. I'm calling from Manchester in the Central Region.
Right.
I think this program will really help the Muslims because we Muslims, it seems we are left over in terms of education, one or two aspects. And our Prophet said, we should go and seek for knowledge, even if it is with the unbeliever. And Muslims, because we deserve it more than unbelievers. Because if this program is done, it will help the Muslims and it will increase our knowledge, and very soon we too will get upper hand in the Ghana society, because always they look down upon the Muslims. So we are praying that Allah will make it easy and this program will come on. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for your submission. Now, you agree with the caller. He talked about the fact that the Muslims are marginalized when it comes to education and all of that. Do you agree with him?
In a context, it is a fact. Just in the recent past, we saw what happened to a Muslim child in the university, and that's why some of the thematic areas include the protection of the rights of the Muslim. When we belong to a secular democratic republic, that provides for freedom of religion, and then we have a whole Article 21, talking about the right to practice your own religion and to manifest it. And then someone is prevented from fasting. That is a fact, and these are all part of the reasons we should try as much as possible to bring the nation together. In fact, ours is not just to ensure quality among the Muslim youth alone. No, ours is to ensure quality in the Muslim community and quality in the among the youth in the nation. In fact, quality of Muslim community.
I'll come back to you. Yes. You don't know where you're calling from?
Hello. Yeah, I'm calling from Nungwa.
Right, your name?
I'm Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, go ahead with your submission.
Yeah. I like to speak to my boss, designer PRO.
Go ahead.
Designer PRO.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hajj Barzuk.
I rise in your honor.
Ya Allah, ya Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Sheikh.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for your call. You're so grateful. You're on the floor.
Yes. So, quality of unity among the Muslim students, or quality of education, and quality of national integration. We believe in national integration. First of all, we all should understand that Ghana is a secular state,
right,
multi-religious, multi-ethnic, and multicultural. So we cannot live in isolation. We belong to that secular state. Our rights must be respected, and we should also respect the rights of others. So part of our mission is to ensure national integration under the banner of constitutional governance.
Now, this conference, well, I'll come back to you. Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Tamale.
Your name? Your name, please.
My name is Alhaji Bashiru, speaking from Tamale.
Alhaji, go ahead.
I know that. My advice to the youth, if they want to be united. They should do away with politics.
Yes. Okay.
Right. Is that all? Okay, thank you so much for your submission. We're so grateful.
I think about
unity and politics. I mean, how would you react to that?
Oh, in fact, fantastic. And of course, I want to assure Alaji of one thing, that even at the political level, we have been able to ensure unity. The Muslim caucus in Parliament is made up of all Muslims.
Exactly. I was about to ask that.
Yes.
Do you have all Muslims from all the political divide, all Parliament, all coming together for this conference?
Yes, all of them. And of course, we are going to make, because that's to showcase one thing, to tell the Muslim youth that even in politics, where disagreements sometimes become sources of confusion and insults, our honorable members of Parliament have been able to demonstrate a high degree of unity, and I salute them. But when it comes to Islamic matters, they do not behave like typical Ghanaian politicians.
Right.
They have been able to demonstrate to the whole world, and of course to His Eminence the National Chief Imam, that they are one people in one religion, serving one Allah.
All right, do we have a caller? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm Alaji Zakaria.
Alaj, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, my boss.
Thank you for your program.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, the only advice that I'm going to give is that denying Muslim students in the schools for fasting and putting on their hijabs and headcaps is very bad. And we don't do that in community. We are all Ghanaians. And everybody has his own culture and his own belief. Fasting doesn't mean in Baruch. God said that we should fast, and He will forgive us our sins for the whole year. And you deny somebody to fast. For what reason? It doesn't harm him. And he has no any background of sickness when fasting. Why do you deny him for fasting? That is not the right way. So this discrimination is not good in the country. So we should leave that aside. We are all 21 God. So everybody, they have their fasting. So they deny them in the Arabic school that they shouldn't fast. When it,
Great. I think we've lost him. All right. Okay. So I was about to ask you before the call actually came in. That who qualifies to attend this event?
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, Justice. I'm calling from Tema.
You're calling from where?
Tema.
All right. Your name?
Yeah, I'm Rufai.
All right.
My elder brother.
Yes. Your submission.
Yes. I'm very, very happy. We are waiting for this.
Right.
Yes, so it's in the right direction. We are praying that all the Muslims will come together. Yes. All of them will come together. Then we push the agenda. Yes, it's long overdue. This is what we are waiting for.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for your submission. I'm so grateful. I asked of who qualifies to be at this event and all of that.
Just as every concerned Ghanaian, you are qualified.
Every concerned Ghanaian. It's not just about our brothers and sisters from the Muslim community.
No, this is what we should understand is that this is.
Right, your name and where you're calling from?
my name is Swali. So good evening. I'm calling from Yendi.
Right. Swali, so go ahead.
I'm
I love you there. Yeah, I won't be a man, don't say.
So now he not anything else from. But Indian said in the woman now when I tell me so you must not gonna worry about. Not power woman made the Villa.
This writing is also.
Okay, I can't try. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
What I want to explain small is that the program is very nice program. But what I want you to tell the whole Muslim brothers, the way we divided is not fine. So the only thing is that always, anytime after all you see that then you tell everybody, then one will come to one, you see that everything will come correct for all Muslim brothers. Either you are Muslim, you are Tijaniya, you are Shia, you are Salawatiya, the Quran is one.
That's true.
The Quran is one.
Okay, thank you so much for your submission. It looks as if people are very much interested in the unity.
But then, just let me tell you something. This conference has a dual responsibility.
Okay.
Religious and secular.
Right.
From the religious perspective, it is to serve the Muslim community, and rightfully so. From the secular perspective, it is to serve the Muslim community and the whole nation.
Exactly.
So we welcome anybody.
So at that point, it extends beyond just the Muslim community.
No.
It has to do with the entire
nation. In fact, we see ourselves as a critical segment of the population of a secular democratic state.
Right.
So that secular culture must be maintained. But we must also prove to the world that we are relevant to that secular state. We can contribute to its development. We can contribute to its unity. We can contribute to the well-being of its youth.
Now let's come to the unity bit, because it looks as if a lot of our callers are very much interested in the unity aspect.
Yes, and I'm so much happy about
very well.
Yes.
But what would you say brought about the divisions, the sects, and all of that? Why was this unity not called for not long ago, once the people are ready to be united?
You see, we should also be able to put the unity in perspective, proper context.
I think we have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Mustafa, calling from Medina.
Go ahead with your submission, my brother.
Okay. I don't know. They are not getting me on the. Hello?
You are live on air. You can go ahead.
Okay. I'm Mustafa from Medina.
Mustafa, go ahead with your submission.
Okay. Already there's unity.
Right.
There's unity in Islamic, in the religion. I mean, there's unity in Islamic religion.
Right.
Already there's unity because we use one book, that's the Holy Quran.
Very well.
We all face the East. We all pray 5 times daily. Whether you are Ahmadiyya, Tijaniya, Sunni. But what is dividing us is the leaders.
You can
professor with you now. If you ask him, it's either Tijaniya or Ahl Sunnah or Ahmadiyya. All of them have their own interest. He will be on this set trying to say he's going to unite us. But he has his own set and he has his own interest. He will be on this set trying to say he's going to unite us. But he has his own set and he has his own interest. He may be Ahl Sunnah or Tijaniya or Ahmadiyya. We don't know at the moment.
Right. Thank you so much for your submission. I think you have to call us back because you're giving us a feedback in the studio. Well, thank you so much for your submission. So, Justice, yes, you were talking about putting the unity in context, in perspective. Exactly.
In fact, largely, we fail to understand the difference between disunity and diversity.
Right.
That's what we fail. And sometimes issues of diversity are misconstrued as issues of disunity. No, they are not. Every religion is subject to interpretation. All the areas of diversity are matters of jurisprudence. And when it comes to jurisprudential matters, you will definitely have differences of opinion. Right? For instance, yes, we must all pray 5 times a day. We must all go to the mosque to pray. The nature of prayer from one school of thought, and even the time from one school of thought, will be different from the nature and time from another school of thought.
Right.
That should be a matter of diversity and not disunity. But in a situation where you do not even understand the dichotomy between disunity and diversity, you do overgeneralization, which of course is a source of logical bankruptcy. And then you think that anything that is subject to diversity is a matter of disunity. Not at all. What we are saying is that the Ahl Sunnah, the Tijaniya, the Shia, the Ahmadiyya cannot be disbanded.
Right.
Because they are sects based on diversity, not disunity. They cannot. But wherever they are, they must come together.
I think we are a caller.
For unity in diversity.
Right, thank you. I'll come back to you. Please lower the volume on your TV set. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, hello, my name is Awal. Hello.
Awal, I can hear you. Lower the volume on your TV set.
Hello.
Lower the volume on your TV set.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, sir. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your TV is still on. It's giving us a feedback. You can put it off and we can hear you better.
Yeah, my name is Awal, calling from...
Don't listen to yourself in the TV or probably on the TV, please.
Okay, now I can... Oh, okay, sir. Hello.
Right, if it's off, then you can talk to us. Hello? Unfortunately, we have lost him.
Let me tell you sources of the
But 1 minute, if you call us, please lower the volume on your TV set, or you can put the TV off, so that you won't give us a feedback here in the studio. Then we can have a very fruitful conversation. Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Abu Bakr.
Right,
my father.
Okay. We thank Allah for this very program. In fact, I'm very happy. I think this program will really help the Muslims youth. And one thing I want, Sheikh, I want you to emphasize it on this program is the girl child education.
Sure.
See, most of our time, our girls are being denied of education in our communities. So please, when you are including it in the list, add it. The girl child education is very necessary in our Muslim communities. Sometimes Muslims are always being denied access to workplaces and a lot more. So we need education. We need education so that we can rise up in Ghana and to help build our communities, inshallah, and the nation as well.
Right, thank you so much for your submission. Now,
your concern is well taken, because FOMWAC is deeply involved in the conference. And FOMWAC, that's Federation of Muslim Women.
Right.
Yes. Of Ghana, right. And then?
Hello?
You know where you're calling from?
Oh, please, my name is Salim, calling from Domi.
Calling from what?
Domi.
Go ahead with your submission, my brother.
Okay. Yeah, please, we've waited for this for a very long time.
Right.
Inshallah.
We've waited for it for a very long time.
Right.
And there's this thing that is killing us about our girls. we've been denied of wearing veils and then sometimes even going out to pray. And I think this is what is going to help us.
Fantastic.
So I think it is all over.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful for that submission.
And girl child education is one of the topics for discussion at the conference. And let's come to the matters of diversity.
Right.
But our failure to appreciate diversity as a form of construction and not a form of destruction leads to the misunderstanding that we are people of disunity. Even the Quran, my sister is here, I'm saying it on authority. The Quran is recited as a matter of diversity. We have a recitation in the form of Kalun, a recitation in the form of Hafs, a recitation in the form of Warsh. You may not understand. Let me demonstrate. Let me even demonstrate. There is a way, for example, there's Wadduha, Wallayli Idha Saja. That is a surah. You can recite it as Wadduhi, Wallayli Idha Saji. Look at the sound.
Right.
You can also decide to recite it as Wadduha, Wallayli Idha Saja. Right? So it is even in terms of recitation, there is a matter of diversity. One is Warsh, one is Hafs. Maybe there are others that we don't know because knowledge belongs to Almighty Allah. So until we appreciate diversity, we will continue to wallow in the quagmire of disunity, destruction. And that's exactly why we have decided to say that we will rise to another pedestal of appreciation of the concept of unity in diversity. In fact, unity without diversity itself is disunity.
Please, let's pick some few more calls. I'm sure a lot more people would want to call and all of that. We'll probably end with the venue. Though I read it in the introduction, but we'll conclude with the venue. I mean, and of course the time of the program, and of course the date and all of that. But it looks as if the issue of unity is one that the people are very much interested in.
Sure.
And then some latest call that came also talked about the girl-child education when it comes to the Muslim community. What do you have to say about these two things? The unity you've talked about, the diversity, and then, I mean, the unity aspect of the whole thing, where we are misplacing the entire conversation of but
let me be emphatic that any unity that does not recognize diversity itself is disunity.
That's true.
It may be deep. Any unity that does not recognize diversity is disunity. Because, Kwame, you and I are gentlemen, but we have different physiological characteristics, different mental characteristics, different religious characteristics, maybe different color characteristics, right? So anytime at all you talk about unity without diversity, then we are talking about something that collapses at birth.
Our diversities must call for the unity.
Exactly. Our diversity should be a source of unity.
Right.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with that. As for jurisprudential matters, there's nothing we can do about them. They are subject to different schools of thought, and we must allow them. That's why this conference will not be concerned about value judgment of sectarian affairs. No, we are rather concerned about value addition to Islamic unity.
Right.
We are not going to even be concerned about jurisprudential matters, spiritual matters. This is haram, this is halal. Those are not the things that we are coming to discuss. We are coming to discuss our relevance to a secular community, our relevance to the contemporary society, our chances of competing favorably with our cousins in other religions, our chances of developing the nation, our contribution to the well-being of the Republic of Ghana. These are the matters that will occupy our minds. we will not go into value judgment of which sex is better than whether. We don't believe in sectarian supremacy.
That's not necessary.
Yes, that's very unnecessary. We believe in Islamic unity.
Anyway,
and then the girl child education.
Yeah, the girl child education.
A very important topic for us. Because Prophet Muhammad never discriminated anybody or any gender in terms of education.
Right.
So it's one of the topics that we have outlined for discussion. It is an area of concern to us, and I think it will also influence public policy. The girl child education is important. We are now in an era of gender equality, and gender equality should manifest in every aspect of society, particularly in education. We believe that when our ladies are well educated, they will be equal partners with men in development. So we don't have any problem with girl child education. And no one should deceive himself or herself that Islam is against girl child education. Never. There's no evidence, no Quranic, no hadith in terms of girl child education. What evidence we have is rather for the promotion of girl child education. We know very well that it is not only a matter of the Muslim community, it is generally a matter of the African culture. And that culture is systematically giving way to the global culture that emphasizes the importance of girl child education. We are in for it, and we shall promote it.
Right. The introduction, talked about this event being the maiden edition of the event and all. It tells that, or it tells anybody that there are going to be subsequent editions and all of that.
Sure.
How is it going to be? Is it going to be an annual event, quarterly, or how is it going to be?
I think as an event, that's what I'm saying, that the conference will have two phases, as an establishment and as an event.
Okay.
As an establishment, it will be perpetual. As an event, it will be annual, based on thematic areas. For instance, this year, we have decided to concentrate on education. So next year, it will be on health.
Okay.
And then the following year, it will be on finance. When we come to finance, we are going to consider ways of increasing the financial fortunes of the Ghanaian Muslim youth, ways of increasing the financial fortunes of the Ghanaian youth,
right,
so that people will be able to gather to understand the dynamics of the financial system, get opportunities,
right,
build themselves, go for quality education, come back and serve the nation.
All right, so soon our time is almost up, but let's deal with this quickly and go. Where and when is this event, taking place?
Tomorrow, the opening ceremony takes place from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. At the National Mosque in Kanda, Greater Accra region. Then, the plenary sessions will start from Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Right.
And continue to Sunday. Sunday will be the closing ceremony. That will start from 9 a.m. and end at 1 p.m. This is how we have designed the program. We have made it clear that everybody interested in youth development, interested in interfaith harmony, interested in national integrity, interested in Islamic unity, interested in the fortunes of the Ghanaian, interested in the well-being of Ghanaian can attend.
Well, we are going, but I'm sure, people who are watching us far away from Accra, would want to participate in this event. Here's a case. There are some people who are as far as Yendi, far as Bogatanga, Navrongo, and the likes. What do you have for such people who are not near?
Invitations have been sent to those people. You know, this is a national event. So we have drawn participants from all parts of the country. And that tomorrow they'll be, if you look at the program, we'll start in the afternoon, right? But then arrivals will start in the morning. People will be arriving from different parts of the country, and then we have made arrangements for them to feel comfortable, to take part in the conference, take part in fruitful deliberations, contribute to the outcomes, and to the effective implementation of the outcomes in the supreme interest of the nation.
Do you have as part of your plans, holding subsequent editions away, from Accra, maybe somewhere in Tamale, Cape Coast? I mean, any Muslim community apart from, Accra?
Yeah, that may be accepted, but that is a matter of management decision.
A matter of management
decision.
But
then that could be I will take that one as an opinion, as a suggestion to us, and I think our management committee may consider it.
Doc, thank you so much for coming. We are so grateful for your time. Those of you far and near can, make it a point to take part in this, event. It's a very, fantastic idea. I mean, we need not to marginalize, any community in this country. Everybody deserves an equal opportunity. And if this conference, seeks to address some of those challenges, then it's one that we all need to support. And I encourage each and everyone to make it a point to take part in this event. Make a time with us same time next week. My name is Justice Appiah, and the show has been Hot News. Thank you, Doc. I'm grateful.
Goodbye. Thank you.